The transport ship broke through the red clouds of Kthora, and Commander Elias Vance watched the alien world grow larger through the viewport. Mountains of black glass stretched across the horizon. Rivers of molten rock cut through valleys older than human civilization. This was a world built for death, and today, death would come for someone in its ancient arena. Elias had volunteered for this mission. When the Galactic Council announced that the Sharkai Empire wanted to settle the border dispute through ritual combat, every military commander in the human fleet had stepped forward. But Elias was the one they chose. He had fought in 12-star systems. He had survived battles that killed better soldiers. He was not the strongest human or the fastest, but he was the one who always came back. The ship landed on a platform carved into the mountainside. Elias stood and checked his exosuit one final time. The armor was black, covered in scratches and burn marks from years of combat. It was not pretty, it was not new, but it worked, and that was all that mattered. A young officer named Chen helped him with the final connections. Her hands were shaking slightly. "Sir," she said quietly, "the Sharkai champion has never lost. Vorath the Unbroken. He has killed 47 opponents in ritual combat. 30 of them were from species we considered dangerous. 4 arms, a body covered in natural armor that could stop most projectile weapons. The Sharkai were born for war. Their entire civilization was built around combat and conquest." "I know," Elias said simply. "The Council says this fight will determine whether we keep the Kepler colonies," Chen continued. "If you lose, we lose 3 billion people to Sharkai rule." Elias walked out into the red light of Kthfora's sun. The arena was carved into the side of a dead volcano. Thousands of Sharkai filled the seats above, their clicking sounds filling the air like a swarm of insects. They were tall, insect-like creatures with hard shells and glowing markings on their bodies. Their eyes reflected the light like mirrors, and all of them were fixed on the small human walking toward the center of the arena. Elias had seen many alien species in his career. He had fought alongside some and against others, but the Sharkai were different. They did not see other species as equals or even as enemies. They saw them as prey, weak things to be conquered and controlled. He reached the center of the arena, where a circle of ancient symbols had been carved into the black stone. This was sacred ground to the Sharkai. For 10,000 years, they had settled disputes here through blood and death. No weapons except what you brought with you, no rules except survival. The crowd grew louder as a massive figure emerged from the opposite entrance. Vorath the Unbroken was everything the reports had described and more. He stood nearly 9 feet tall, his 4 arms thick with muscle and covered in natural armor that looked like dark metal. His face was a collection of mandibles and compound eyes that showed no emotion. Glowing blue markings pulsed across his body, a sign of his noble bloodline. He carried 2 curved blades that hummed with plasma energy. One cut from each blade would burn through metal and flesh alike. He wore no armor because his body was armor. He needed nothing else. Vorath stopped 10 feet from Elias and looked down at him. The clicking sounds from his mandibles carried across the silent arena. "So this is the human champion," Vorath said, his voice deep and grinding like stones rubbing together. "I expected something more impressive. Without them, you are nothing but soft meat. All of them are dead. Are you done talking?" This was the ritual that had been performed for 10,000 years. Once the chanting stopped, the fight would begin. It would only end when one of them was dead. Elias flexed his hands inside the exosuit. The armor responded, systems coming online with quiet hums. His weapons were built into the suit. Energy blades, a pulse cannon on one arm, and reinforced plating that could take several hits from those plasma swords. But he knew it would not be enough. The reports were clear. Vorath was fast for his size, impossibly fast. His natural armor could regenerate minor damage, and he had 4 arms to Elias too. The math did not work in the human's favor, but Elias had never been good at math. The chanting stopped. The arena fell completely silent. Then Vorath moved. He crossed the distance between them in a single leap, all 4 arms swinging, blades cutting through the air with a sound like screaming metal. Elias dove to the side, feeling the heat of the plasma pass inches from his helmet. He rolled, came up, and fired his pulse cannon. The shot hit Vorath's chest and did nothing. The alien did not even slow down. The crowd roared. Vorath pressed his attack, blades spinning in patterns that seemed impossible for any creature to perform. Elias blocked what he could, dodged what he could not block, and tried to find an opening that did not exist. Within 30 seconds, he knew the truth. He could not win this fight, not like this. But he also knew something that Vorath did not. Losing was not the same as dying, and Elias Vance had never learned how to die. The fight had been going on for 5 minutes, but it felt like hours. Elias moved constantly, never staying in one place for more than a second. His exosuit's warning system screamed at him through his helmet display, armor integrity dropping, power reserves falling. Multiple systems showing damage. Vorath was relentless. His 4 arms moved in perfect coordination, each blade finding new angles of attack. He was not just strong and fast, he was smart. He learned from each exchange, cutting off Elias' escape routes, forcing him into corners, breaking down his defenses piece by piece. The crowd above them was screaming with excitement. They had seen many fights in this arena, but rarely one that lasted this long. Most opponents fell to Vorath within the first minute. The fact that this human was still standing was almost impressive. Almost. Elias blocked a downward strike with his left arm and felt the impact shake through his entire body. The exosuit absorbed most of the force, but the joints were starting to fail. He fired his pulse cannon at point-blank range, hitting Vorath in the face. The alien stumbled back, more surprised than hurt. The shot had left a black mark on his natural armor, but the damage was minimal. His compound eyes focused on Elias with what might have been respect. "You fight well for a soft creature," Vorath said, circling again. "Better than I expected. But you must see the truth by now. You cannot hurt me. Your weapons are too weak, your armor is failing. This can only end one way." Humans were supposed to be defensive fighters, relying on their technology to keep enemies at distance. They were not supposed to attack directly. Elias drove his shoulder into Vorath's midsection, using the full weight of his exosuit. It was like hitting a wall of stone, but he felt the alien shift slightly off balance. He grabbed one of Vorath's lower arms and twisted, using the suit's enhanced strength. For a moment, he actually had the advantage. Then Vorath's other 3 arms came down on him like hammers. The first blow cracked his shoulder plate. The second shattered the power coupling on his back. The third sent him flying across the arena, rolling across the ancient stone until he crashed into the wall. Warning lights filled his vision, systems failing across the board. The exosuit was dying around him. He pushed himself up, one arm hanging loose where the joint had been destroyed. Through his cracked visor, he could see Vorath walking toward him slowly, savoring the moment. "Brave," the alien said, his mandibles clicking with amusement. "Stupid but brave. Your species is full of such contradictions. You are weak, yet you challenge the strong. You are fragile, yet you refuse to break. It is almost admirable." "We have a saying," he managed to speak through the pain. "It is not over until it is over." The suit was too damaged, responding too slowly. All he could do was watch the plasma blade come down. But instead of a killing blow, Vorath stopped. The blade hovered inches from Elias' helmet. The crowd fell silent, confused. "I find myself curious," Vorath said, tilting his massive head. "In 10,000 years we have fought many species. Most of them beg at the end. They cry. They plead for mercy, but you just stand there. Why do you not fear death?" The crowd began to click and whisper, wondering what was happening. Then the alien reached out with one of his free hands and grabbed the front of Elias' exosuit. With casual strength, he tore away the chest plate, exposing the inner systems and the emergency release mechanisms. "Before I kill you," Vorath said, "I would satisfy my curiosity. I have fought many species, but I have never seen what a human truly looks like beneath all this metal and technology. I have heard stories. Some say you are like pale worms, soft and writhing. Others say you are more machine than flesh, with metal bones and artificial organs. Humans were known across the galaxy for their technology, but few aliens had ever seen one outside of their protective suits. So tell me, human," Vorath said, mandibles clicking with genuine interest. "What lies beneath this armor? What are you really under all this metal?" The reinforced plating that had kept him alive, all of it torn off and thrown aside like garbage. His exosuit was dead. He should have been terrified. He should have felt naked and vulnerable. By every logical measure, he had lost. Without his armor, a human was nothing compared to a Sharkai warrior. But Elias did not feel fear. Instead, for the first time since the fight began, he smiled. "You want to know what is beneath this armor?" he asked. Vorath nodded, blade still raised and ready. Elias reached up and triggered the emergency releases on his helmet. The seals hissed open. He grabbed the helmet with his bare hands and pulled it off, dropping it to the ground with a heavy clang. For the first time, the Sharkai of Kthora saw a human face. And somewhere in his compound eyes, Vorath felt something he had not felt in over 100 battles. Uncertainty. Because what he saw was not a pale worm, it was not a soft, fragile creature. What he saw was a predator, and it was smiling at him. "Let me show you," Elias said quietly, "what 2 million years of survival looks like." 10,000 Sharkai stared down at the human who stood in the center of the ancient fighting ground. Their clicking had stopped. Their movements had frozen. For the first time in memory, the crowd did not know how to react. Elias Vance stood without his armor. He was smaller than Vorath by several feet. His skin was pale and covered in sweat. He had no natural armor, no claws, no fangs. By Sharkai standards, he should have looked pathetic, weak, easy prey, but that was not what they saw. What they saw was a body that told a story of survival. Scars covered Elias like a map of battles fought and won. A long, jagged line ran from his left shoulder down to his ribs. That was from the Kreth Wars, when a hive queen had nearly cut him in half. Burn marks spread across his right side like splashed paint. Those came from the methane storms of Titan when his transport crashed and he walked 40 miles through fire to reach the rescue point. His left arm was not entirely flesh. From the elbow down, it was metal and synthetic muscle, a cybernetic replacement for the limb he lost fighting pirates in the asteroid belts. It was not sleek or pretty. It was functional, built for strength and durability. More scars marked his back, his chest, his legs, radiation burns, bullet wounds, knife cuts, claw marks from creatures that no longer existed because he had killed them. Every inch of his body told the story of a life spent fighting, surviving, refusing to die. But it was his eyes that made Vorath step back. There was no fear in those eyes, no pain despite the injuries he had suffered in the fight, no desperation or hope for mercy. There was only calm, patience, calculation, the eyes of a hunter waiting for the right moment to strike. "You asked what lies beneath the armor," Elias said, his voice steady. He rolled his shoulders and something cracked back into place. He did not react to the pain. "This is what you see. This is what humans are. Something the galaxy does not understand. The weather changes from burning heat to freezing cold. The water is filled with creatures that want to eat us. The land is covered with animals that want to kill us. And the smallest living things, creatures so tiny you cannot even see them, they invade our bodies and try to destroy us from the inside. We did not become the dominant species on that world because we were the strongest. We were not. We did not survive because we were the fastest. We were not that either. We survived because we refused to stop. We kept fighting. We kept adapting. We kept coming back no matter what tried to kill us. You are persistence predators. You think the armor makes us strong, but the armor is a cage. It limits us, keeps us controlled. Without it," he smiled, and there was nothing friendly in that smile. "Without it, we are what we were always meant to be." He had killed creatures with claws that could tear through starship hulls. He had killed creatures that could spit acid or control minds, but something about this small, soft, scarred human made him feel something new, something that felt almost like fear. "You cannot beat me," Vorath said, but his voice was not as confident as before. "I am stronger. I am faster. I am armored. You have all of those things, and I am sure they have won you many battles, but you have never fought something like me. I can operate on almost no sleep, almost no food, almost no water. I can keep fighting long after my body should have shut down because my mind refuses to let me stop. Keeps me fighting like a machine, instead of fighting like what I really am. With the armor, I was limited. I had to protect systems and conserve power. I had to fight your way, trading blows like a machine. And my way is very, very different." He had killed creatures that breathed fire and monsters that could tear through steel. He had never, not once, felt like he was losing, until now. The human was everywhere. Without the heavy armor, Elias moved like water, like smoke, like something that existed between moments. Vorath's blades cut through air where the human had been a heartbeat before. His fists struck at shadows that twisted away before impact landed. This was not how the fight was supposed to go. Elias ducked under a sweeping blade and drove his cybernetic fist into the soft joint where Vorath's lower left arm met his body. The alien grunted in pain and swung with his other arms, but Elias was already gone, rolling between his legs and coming up behind him. A kick to the back of Vorath's knee made the giant stumble. "Your armor has gaps," Elias said, circling constantly, never staying still. "The joints, the neck, the area under your mandibles. You have protected your chest and back, but you left yourself open in a dozen places." His mandibles cracked together with a sound like breaking stones. The crowd gasped. In the armor, I could not move fast enough to use those gaps, Elias continued, already back on his feet and circling again. I had to fight you head-on, strength against strength. That was stupid. That was fighting your fight, not mine. His flesh hand struck the nerve cluster on the alien's neck while his metal hand grabbed one of the plasma blades and twisted. The weapon flew from Vorath's grip and clattered across the arena floor. My fight is different, Elias said. I do not need to be stronger than you, I just need to be smarter, more patient. More willing to take damage while I wait for my moment. Vorath's eyes widened in shock as the human pressed against his chest, too close to hit with the long weapons. Then Elias drove his cybernetic elbow into Vorath's throat. The alien choked, stumbling backward. Elias followed, not giving him space to recover. He struck the same nerve cluster again, then the joint of another arm, then the soft spot beneath the mandibles. Each hit was precise. Surgical, designed to cause maximum damage to specific weak points. Vorath swung wildly, and this time one of his fists connected. The impact sent Elias flying backward, crashing to the ground hard enough to crack the ancient stone beneath him. Any normal creature would have stayed down. Elias was up in less than a second. Blood ran down his face from a cut on his forehead. His ribs screamed with pain from the impact. His vision blurred for a moment before his mind forced it back into focus. He smiled. That is the other thing about humans, he said, wiping blood from his eyes. We do not stop, even when we should, even when every logical part of our brain tells us to stay down, something else keeps us going, something older. Something deeper. They survived diseases that killed millions. They survived each other, which was the hardest part, and they did it by being too stubborn to die. Instead, he pulled himself closer and drove his thumbs into the compound eyes on the left side of Vorath's face. The alien screamed. His grip loosened for just a moment. It was enough. Elias twisted free, dropped to the ground, and swept Vorath's legs out from under him. The massive alien fell hard, shaking the arena floor. Before he could rise, Elias was on him. His cybernetic hand closed around Vorath's throat while his other hand grabbed the remaining plasma blade and pressed it against the joint of the alien's primary arm. You asked why I keep coming, Elias said quietly, breathing hard through his own pain. Here is your answer. Humans are persistence predators. We evolved to chase prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. It did not matter if the animal was faster. It did not matter if it was stronger. We just kept following, hour after hour, day after day, until it could not run anymore. I will bleed, I will break, and I will keep coming, because that is what we do, that is what we have always done. Your species, he said slowly, you wear the armor not to protect yourselves. Endurance fighters. Creatures that evolved on a world that tried to kill us every single day, and we survived anyway. Another movement and his throat would be opened. The fight was over. Everyone knew it. The only question now was how it would end. The arena was frozen in time. 10,000 Sharkai sat in perfect silence, watching their greatest champion lie defeated on the ancient stones. Vorath the Unbroken, who had never lost, who had killed 47 opponents in ritual combat, was pinned beneath a creature half his size. A human, a soft, fragile, impossible human. Elias held the plasma blade against Vorath's joint, ready to cut. His body was damaged in ways that would take months to fully heal. His ribs were cracked. His face was covered in blood. His muscles trembled with exhaustion, but he had won. The rules of ritual combat were simple. You fought until one opponent was dead. There were no other options, no surrender, no mercy. This was how the Sharkai had settled disputes for 10,000 years. Vorath looked up at the human above him. Finish it, he said. You have earned the kill, take it. He just stared down at the alien with those strange, calm eyes. Why do you wait? Vorath demanded. I am defeated. Your laws of combat must be the same as ours. Kill your enemy when he is down. End the threat. This is the way of warriors. The crowd erupted in confused clicking. This was not how ritual combat ended. This was not how any combat ended among the Sharkai. You killed your enemies. You did not let them live. Vorath slowly pushed himself up, staring at the human with complete confusion. I do not understand. You have won. Why do you spare me? He stood straight despite the pain in his body, meeting Vorath's eyes without fear. Because killing you serves no purpose, he said. The fight is over. You know you lost. Your people know you lost. What does your death prove that your defeat has not already proven? Vorath the Unbroken, defeated by a human without armor. The cybernetic one covered in scratches and dents from the battle. An ally. This was not mercy born from weakness. The human could kill him, that was proven. The skill was there, the opportunity was there. Elias had chosen not to. This was mercy born from strength, from complete confidence, from a creature so certain of its own power that it could afford to let its enemy live, and that was far more terrifying than any killing blow. "You are strange creatures," Vorath said slowly. "You build machines to limit yourselves. You show mercy to enemies you could destroy. You fight with a fury that matches any warrior race, but you do not embrace the kill. And friends are more useful than enemies. Is it not better to face those things together?" Some in something that might have been wonder. Elias pulled Vorath to his feet. The alien towered over him once more, but the dynamic between them had changed. They were no longer predator and prey. They were something else. "I asked you what lay beneath your armor," Vorath said quietly, so only Elias could hear. "I thought I would find weakness, soft flesh. A creature that needed machines to survive. Sometimes we do not understand ourselves, but we are here. We are not going away, and we would rather make friends than enemies. Tell them that our armor is not a crutch, but a courtesy. And tell them that if they want to be our enemies, we will fight them with everything we have. And we never, ever give up." Sharkai warriors, nobles, priests, all of them stepping back to let the small, damaged, unarmored human pass. None of them tried to stop him. None of them even made a sound. They just watched and remembered. The next day, the Sharkai Empire signed the treaty. The Kepler colonies remained under human protection, and across the galaxy a new story began to spread. A story about a human who took off his armor to show an alien what lay beneath. A story that became a warning. If you meet a human in battle, do not ask them to remove their armor. Do not assume their technology is what makes them dangerous. Do not think that soft skin and small size mean weakness. Because beneath the armor, beneath the machines, beneath all the tools they use to interact with the galaxy, there is something else. Something that evolved on a death world and survived. Something that does not know how to give up. Something that, when everything else is stripped away, becomes the most dangerous creature in the galaxy. Humanity. And they are just getting started.